Everyone mocked my online store, now they're my biggest customers. The first time I hit publish on my online store, I felt a rush of excitement mixed with terror. It was late at night, and the glow from my laptop screen illuminated the small corner of my apartment that had become my makeshift office. The website wasn't perfect, far from it, but it represented months of hard work, sleepless nights, and countless cups of coffee. I called it Threads of Tomorrow, a boutique offering unique, sustainable clothing made from organic materials. Each piece was carefully curated or designed by me, inspired by nature's colors and textures. Within hours, comments started flooding in. But they weren't the encouraging messages I'd hoped for. Instead, strangers tore into every aspect of my store. The logo looked amateurish. Did you make this in paint? The product photos were too dark. Can we even see what we're buying? And the prices were deemed outrageous. Who would pay $80 for an eco-friendly sweater? One particularly scathing comment read, "This is just another sad attempt at being woke. Save your money and buy something real." That one stung more than the others because it came from someone who claimed to be a local fashion blogger. I tried to shake off the negativity, telling myself that not everyone would understand my vision right away. After all, hadn't every successful entrepreneur faced skepticism at some point? Yet, as days turned into weeks, the mocking continued. Friends who once supported me began sharing memes about my store in group chats, laughing along with their jokes while assuring me they were just teasing. Even family members expressed doubt, suggesting I should focus on finding a real job instead of wasting time on what seemed like a doomed venture. Despite the ridicule, I refused to give up. There was something deeply personal about Threads of Tomorrow. It wasn't just a business, it was a reflection of who I was and what I believed in. Growing up, I'd always been passionate about environmental issues, often organizing school projects around recycling campaigns or community cleanups. When I discovered sustainable fashion during college, it felt like everything clicked into place. This wasn't merely about selling clothes, it was about making a difference, however small, in how people consumed products. So, I doubled down on my efforts. If people thought my logo was amateurish, I hired a graphic designer friend to help refine it. If the product photos were too dark, I invested in better lighting equipment and spent hours learning photography techniques through YouTube tutorials. And if customers balked at the prices, I wrote detailed blog posts explaining why ethically sourced materials cost more and how supporting small businesses contributed to fair wages and safe working conditions worldwide. Slowly but surely, things began to change. A few brave souls placed orders despite the backlash, curious enough to take a chance on my little shop. Their feedback was overwhelmingly positive, praising both the quality of the garments and the thoughtful packaging adorned with wildflower seeds meant to be planted after unwrapping. These early supporters became my lifeline, their kind words fueling my determination to keep going even when times got tough. One day, a customer named Rachel reached out via email. She'd purchased one of our signature sweaters, a soft moss green number crafted from recycled cotton, and wanted to share her experience. Her message was simple yet profound: "Your sweater arrived today, and I love it. More importantly though, I appreciate the story behind it. Knowing that my purchase supports ethical practices makes me feel good about shopping here." Encouraged by Rachel's words, I decided to start featuring customer stories on social media, highlighting not only the products themselves but also the values they represented. As these narratives gained traction, something unexpected happened. People who had initially mocked Threads of Tomorrow started paying attention again, but this time, their tone shifted. Some admitted they'd underestimated the importance of sustainability in fashion, acknowledging that perhaps there was merit to what I was trying to achieve. Others confessed they'd never considered where their clothes came from before stumbling upon my posts. While many still remained skeptical, a growing number expressed genuine interest in learning more. Encouraged by this newfound openness, I launched a series called #BehindTheSeams, offering behind-the-scenes glimpses into the creation process. From visiting textile mills committed to zero-waste production to interviewing artisans whose livelihoods depended on sustainable practices, each post aimed to educate followers about the complexities involved in responsible manufacturing. The response was overwhelming, engagement skyrocketed, and suddenly, I found myself fielding questions from individuals eager to understand how they could make more conscious consumer choices. Among those engaging with my content was Sarah, a former classmate who used to tease me relentlessly about my hippie dip pie ideas back in high school. Now working as a marketing executive for a major retail chain, she messaged me privately, admitting she'd been following Threads of Tomorrow closely. "I have to admit," she wrote, "you've completely changed my perspective on fast fashion. Your dedication is inspiring, and I want to support what you're doing." To prove her sincerity, Sarah placed an order for several items, becoming one of my most loyal customers overnight. Her conversion marked a turning point. As word spread about Threads of Tomorrow's mission and impact, more acquaintances from my past reached out, expressing similar sentiments. Former bullies transformed into advocates, sharing my posts across their networks and urging friends to shop sustainably. What had once been a source of embarrassment became a badge of honor, proof that perseverance could turn critics into champions. But success brought its own set of challenges. With increased visibility came heightened scrutiny. Competitors emerged, attempting to replicate my model without fully embracing the ethical principles underpinning it. Fake reviews popped up, accusing me of greenwashing or exaggerating claims about sustainability. Trolls lurked in comment sections, waiting to pounce on any misstep. For every step forward, it seemed there were forces determined to pull me back. Yet, amidst the chaos, moments of pure joy kept me grounded. Like the time a young mother messaged me, thanking me for creating maternity where that aligned with her values. Or when a teenager saved up months of allowance to buy her first eco-friendly dress, proudly wearing it to prom. These interactions reminded me why I started Threads of Tomorrow in the first place, not for fame or fortune, but to create meaningful connections through shared ideals. Inspired by these experiences, I expanded beyond clothing, introducing home goods and accessories crafted from repurposed materials. Collaborations with other small businesses flourished, forming a network of like-minded entrepreneurs dedicated to changing the industry from within. Together, we hosted workshops, webinars, and pop-up events, educating communities about the power of conscious consumption. Through it all, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I'd come since those initial days of relentless mockery. The journey hadn't been easy, filled with moments of doubt and despair. Yet, each obstacle served as a stepping stone, pushing me closer to realizing my dream. And while I knew there would always be skeptics lurking in the shadows, ready to question every move I made, their voices no longer held sway over me. Because somewhere along the way, I realized something crucial. True validation doesn't come from silencing critics or proving them wrong. It comes from staying true to oneself, from believing in the value of your work even when others don't. Every sale, every supportive message, every partnership forged reinforced this belief, building a foundation stronger than any amount of ridicule could ever dismantle. And so, as Threads of Tomorrow continued to grow, attracting attention from media outlets and industry leaders alike, I embraced both the triumphs and trials with equal measure. For every challenge presented an opportunity to learn, to adapt, to innovate. To show the world that sometimes, the very people who doubted you can become your greatest allies, provided you remain steadfast in your convictions. Looking ahead, I envisioned new possibilities unfolding before me. Perhaps expanding internationally, reaching audiences previously untouched by sustainable fashion movements. Maybe partnering with schools to implement educational programs about ethical consumption. Whatever path lay ahead, one thing remained certain: I would face it head-on, armed with resilience, passion, and an unwavering commitment to making a difference. For now, though, I savored the present moment, grateful for the incredible journey thus far. Grateful for the lessons learned, the friendships formed, and the lives touched along the way. Grateful for the realization that sometimes, the loudest critics can transform into the most ardent supporters, given enough time, patience, and perseverance. The momentum behind Threads of Tomorrow was undeniable. What had once been a solitary effort born out of passion and determination had evolved into something much larger, a movement that resonated with people across the globe. As orders poured in from countries I'd never even dreamed of reaching, I began to feel the weight of responsibility that came with such growth. This wasn't just about selling clothes anymore, it was about leading by example, showing others that ethical business practices could thrive in an industry often criticized for its wastefulness and exploitation. One day, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a video posted by someone who had initially mocked my store. It was Sarah, the same high school classmate who had teased me relentlessly years ago. In the clip, she stood in front of her office whiteboard, presenting Threads of Tomorrow as a case study during a team meeting at her company. Her voice was steady and confident as she explained how small businesses like mine were revolutionizing consumer expectations. She highlighted our commitment to sustainability, transparency, and community engagement, calling us a blueprint for modern entrepreneurship. I watched the video multiple times, each replay stirring a mix of emotions, pride, vindication, but also a deep sense of gratitude. Here was someone who had once dismissed my dreams, now championing them on a professional platform. It wasn't just flattering, it was humbling. It reminded me that change doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes the people who resist your vision the most are the ones who need it the most. Encouraged by this unexpected endorsement, I decided to take Threads of Tomorrow to the next level. I reached out to Sarah, thanking her for her support and asking if she'd be interested in collaborating further. To my surprise, she responded enthusiastically, suggesting we co-host a panel discussion on sustainable fashion at an upcoming industry conference. The idea excited me, not only because it would provide exposure for my brand, but also because it represented an opportunity to bridge gaps between skeptics and believers, fostering dialogue where there had once been division. Preparations for the event consumed the next few months. Between managing daily operations at the store, overseeing new product launches, and coordinating logistics for the panel, I barely had time to sleep. But every late night spent drafting presentations or rehearsing talking points felt worth it when I imagined the potential impact. If I could inspire even one person in the audience to rethink their approach to consumption, all the hard work would be justified. The day of the conference arrived, and nerves fluttered in my stomach as I stepped onto the stage. The room was packed, filled with industry professionals, journalists, and curious onlookers eager to learn more about sustainable fashion. Sitting beside me were other panelists, designers, activists, and researchers, all united by a shared mission to create a better future for the planet. When the moderator introduced me, I took a deep breath and began sharing my story. I spoke candidly about the early days of Threads of Tomorrow, recounting the ridicule I faced and the doubts that plagued me. I talked about the turning points, the first customer who believed in my vision, the strangers who became advocates, and the critics who transformed into supporters. I emphasized the importance of resilience, urging the audience not to let fear of failure deter them from pursuing meaningful work. By the time I finished speaking, the room erupted in applause, and I noticed several attendees wiping away tears. After the panel, dozens of people approached me, eager to ask questions or share their own experiences. One woman, a buyer for a major department store chain, expressed interest in featuring Threads of Tomorrow in their eco-conscious collection. Another attendee, a young designer struggling to break into the sustainable fashion scene, asked for advice on staying motivated despite setbacks. As I engaged with these individuals, I realized the true power of storytelling. It didn't just validate my journey, it inspired others to embark on their own. In the weeks following the conference, opportunities continued to unfold. Media outlets picked up the story of Threads of Tomorrow, profiling me in magazines and podcasts. Influencers reached out, offering to collaborate on campaigns that aligned with their values. Even former detractors contacted me privately, apologizing for their past behavior and expressing admiration for what I'd built. Each interaction reinforced the idea that authenticity and perseverance could dismantle even the strongest barriers. But with success came challenges I hadn't anticipated. Managing rapid growth required resources I didn't have: more staff, better technology, expanded inventory. Suppliers struggled to keep up with demand, and shipping delays frustrated customers accustomed to quick deliveries. Some critics resurfaced, accusing me of losing sight of my original mission in pursuit of profit. Their words cut deep, forcing me to confront difficult questions. Had I compromised my values along the way? Was it possible to scale without sacrificing integrity? Determined to stay grounded, I revisited the core principles that had guided me from the beginning. I implemented stricter vetting processes for suppliers, ensuring they adhered to the highest ethical standards. I hired team members who shared my commitment to sustainability, empowering them to contribute ideas and innovations. And I prioritized communication with customers, keeping them informed about production timelines and inviting feedback to improve the shopping experience. Through these efforts, Threads of Tomorrow not only survived but thrived. Sales skyrocketed, partnerships flourished, and recognition poured in from prestigious organizations dedicated to environmental advocacy. Yet, amidst the accolades, I remained acutely aware of the fragility of success. The fashion industry was notorious for its volatility, and trends shifted faster than anyone could predict. What worked today might not work tomorrow, and complacency was a surefire path to failure. To stay ahead, I embraced experimentation. I launched limited edition collections inspired by global art movements, collaborating with local artists to infuse cultural diversity into the designs. I introduced a rental program, allowing customers to borrow pieces for special occasions rather than purchase them outright, a nod to the growing popularity of circular fashion. I invested in research and development, exploring cutting-edge materials like biodegradable fabrics and algae-based dyes. Every initiative carried risks, but each one brought me closer to fulfilling my vision of a truly sustainable future. As the years passed, Threads of Tomorrow became more than just a brand, it became a symbol of hope. Hope that individuals could make a difference, no matter how daunting the obstacles. Hope that industries could evolve, prioritizing people and the planet over profit. Hope that communities could unite, supporting one another in pursuit of common goals. And through it all, I held on to the belief that even the harshest critics could become allies, given enough patience, understanding, and persistence. Looking back, I marveled at how far I'd come since those lonely nights hunched over my laptop, wondering if anyone would ever care about my little online store. The journey had been anything but easy, filled with moments of doubt, frustration, and heartache. But it had also been incredibly rewarding, teaching me lessons I couldn't have learned any other way. Lessons about resilience, empathy, and the transformative power of staying true to oneself. And yet, as satisfying as the present moment was, I knew the story of Threads of Tomorrow wasn't over. There were still mountains to climb, battles to fight, and hearts to win. New challenges awaited around every corner, testing my resolve and pushing me to grow in ways I couldn't yet imagine. But armed with the knowledge that I'd overcome so much already, I faced the future with courage and optimism. Because somewhere out there, another dreamer was starting their own journey, facing mockery and disbelief just as I once had. And maybe, just maybe, hearing my story would give them the strength to keep going, to trust that their vision mattered, that their efforts could ripple outward and touch lives in ways they never expected. As Threads of Tomorrow continued to grow, I realized the true impact of my journey wasn't just in the success of the brand, but in the lives it touched, including my own. The critics who once mocked me became some of my biggest supporters, proving that perseverance and authenticity can turn even the harshest skeptics into allies. One day, while preparing for a major international launch, I received an email from Rachel, my very first customer. She wrote, "Your store didn't just sell me a sweater, it gave me hope that we can build a better world." Her words reminded me why I started this journey, to inspire change, one thread at a time. With renewed purpose, I stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that every step forward brought us closer to a more sustainable, compassionate future. And as I looked out at the bustling team now behind Threads of Tomorrow, I smiled, grateful for how far we'd come, and excited for where we were headed next.